Hello and welcome to the Intel Brief. Today is Tuesday, 17 March. I'm your host Daniel, and today we're going to talk about India has arrested 7 people, including 6 Ukrainians, near the Myanmar border. Kenyans have said they will no longer fight for Russia, says a top diplomat. And Cuba has been hit by nationwide blackouts amid Trump's oil blockade. So firstly, India's intelligence agency has reported that 7 foreign nationals, including 6 Ukrainians and one American, has been arrested for trying to cross into Myanmar, allegedly to provide terrorist training to Myanmar rebels. They have received an initial 11-day custodial sentence for illegal entry, weapons and drone training, and the importing of drones from Europe. So what? What were they doing there? It's possible that this was linked to Ukraine's international attempts to just attack and disable any country that supports Russia. The Myanmar junta is heavily supported by Russia. They buy Russian weapons. They have Russian training. They receive Russian support financially. So it's possible that these Ukrainians were sent there by Ukrainian intelligence to provide drone training, probably most likely to the Myanmar rebels, so they can fight more effectively against the junta forces, or the Myanmar army, I guess you would say. But it also could be purely financial. These guys could be financed by a foreign intelligence agency, possibly from the US or another country such as France, and they could just be getting paid significant money to go in there and train these Myanmar rebels and how to use drones, purely just to try and, like a foreign intelligence agency trying to defeat the Myanmar junta using these rebel groups. They have received limited support from foreign intelligence, so it's definitely possible. And as I said, it's likely that they were there to train them in drone warfare, specifically FPV, the use of FPV and, dropping munitions. And next, officials propose to clamp down on the practice of pressing Kenyans into joining the Russian army, Nairobi's foreign minister said on Monday in Moscow. He added that they were working on a plan to repatriate Kenyans who had been lured into Russian service under false pretenses. After being promised well-paid civilian work, some 1,000 Kenyans who have landed in Russia were forced into conscription into the Russian army to go and fight in Ukraine. The foreign minister spoke with his Russian counterpart, Sergei Lavrov, who said that they had agreed that Kenyans will no longer be able to enlist in the special military operation, Moscow's term for the war. It's now in its 4th year. So what? Despite Russia's public statements on this, it's highly unlikely that they're going to stop this practice, and it's likely that they'll continue to either push Kenyans or other African nations into this kind of service. It is a relatively cheap way and an effective way to boost this military base without having to sacrifice Russians, essentially trading small amounts of money for a person's life. In addition to this, the soldiers are treated extremely poorly and sent on some of the worst, most risky operations there can be, such as the wave-style attacks that we've seen Russia use throughout this conflict. Additionally, it's been reported widely that they're not paid if they die in service. There's no one to collect the money. It's not like there's a Russian family who know that their family member has died in this combat operation, so they come looking for the money from the Ministry of Defense. If a Kenyan or another African soldier dies, there's no one really looking for the money, so Russia can just put them down as lost and never pay out. So, another way that they are financially motivated to keep doing this practice. And lastly, the Cuban government on Monday announced that the Latin American nation was subject to a nationwide blackout. The Cuban Ministry for Energy and Mines said that there'd been a total disconnection from the electricity grid. Cuba, have I said Kenya the whole? I mean Cuba. This is all about Cuba. Cuba has been suffering long blackouts as US President Donald Trump has blocked Venezuelan oil shipments by taking out Venezuela, and also oil shipments from other nations. The US operation to arrest the Venezuelan doesn't really the arrest of Nicolas Maduro was seen as a significant blow to the Cuban government. Since then, Trump has backed the acting president, and oil deliveries to Cuba have stopped. In addition, Trump has vowed to impose tariffs on countries who do sell oil to Cuba, specifically Mexico and Russia, who are two of Cuba's other oil suppliers. So what? I mean, it's almost certain here that Trump is attempting to choke Cuba into submission, right? He's trying to force the people to rise up and take out the Cuban government. And it seems to be working to a degree. There have been protests. They're very limited and not very significant yet. But, as the situation gets worse and worse, it's possible that these will continue to grow until it leads to the removal of the current Cuban leadership. And the overall goal here is likely that the US wants to remove specifically the Chinese influence. There's been reports that China has intelligence collection facilities within Cuba, and they're using this to collect information on the US, specifically signals intelligence, which is probably their best move here. So yeah, it's likely that this is the main goal of the US administration. Also to just remove a hostile foreign country from the board that is near the US. Cuba has been a thorn in the US's backside for a long time now. So the removal of an anti-US government there would be a significant win for the US administration. But yeah, it's going to be pretty tough for the Cuban people in the meantime. So we'll have to see what happens. Anyway, that's been the Intel Brief. I've been your host, Daniel, and I'll see you again tomorrow. See you.